Hello everyone, it's me, Demetrius Villa for the High Speed Rail America Club. And we have a very special reaction video with a very special guest, our very own correspondent in New York, Staten Island, Mr. Mark Licari. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, doing good. How's everything been going down there, I'm wondering?
Alright, so far so good. Muggy as usual over here in Miami. Wish I was sort of back up in the Northeast, but you know, it's we're doing what we can. So me and Mark here are taking our time out from watching the Giants versus Jets game to go and give our reaction to a couple things going on at Amtrak. Number one, the new CEO of Amtrak, Mr. Wick Moorman, and also about the new sort of Amtrak Acela train, the Avelia Liberty that they just unveiled, a render of it, a video render. And we're going to show you that video render right now so you can be able to see it, and we're going to also react to it as well. So take a look. All right, so that's Mark. What was one of the things that stood out to you when you were watching this?
Well, one thing that stood out to me, of course, well, the train sets are definitely pretty good. They look nice. The interior looks great. And the specifications for what they're calling for the train to be lighter and much more convenient with better tilting technology and so forth. That was a good thing. But I did notice a few things that were, let's just say, laughable at points. First thing, of course, was the infrastructure, of course. They were putting in images like Portal Bridge, for example, which is 100 years old and needs to be replaced. Then they put in, of course, the Pennsylvania tunnels, which, of course, everybody should know what's going on with the Hudson River tubes, that one of them, if it's not repaired, if these tunnels aren't repaired soon from Superstorm Sandy, they might actually have to shut down one of the tunnels due to saltwater corrosion. And the last thing, of course, was, let me see, oh yeah, the signals, the signal systems, the dwarf signals and so forth that are going way back to like maybe the 40s or 50s, which I had to just laugh at, I mean, a bit. Like, why would you put that in what you're trying to expose as the modern picture of the future of high-speed rail in America? That was just like, I don't know, it's a bit debatable.
Yeah, because I mean, you've seen the deterioration of the Northeast Coast. I've seen it. Millions of people have seen it. So we're looking at like, wait a second, your guys are getting, these high-tech, high-speed trains to put on there, and what's going to be the enormous difference when they're going a little bit faster on infrastructure that's basically almost dating back to the Civil War in some places. I mean, we showed off the Susquehanna Bridge that was over in Havre de Grace in Maryland. That thing is over 110 years old.
Yeah, it's bad, and that's not the only bridge, unfortunately, that's over 100 years old. Not even Portal Bridge up in Connecticut. We got bridges that are definitely over 100 years old as well. In fact, I believe I think it was a year or 2 years ago. They're gonna replace one of the bridges. I know that they're in the phases of actually starting to do it, but Connecticut cannot even find the funding to replace the rest of the movable drawbridges that they got on that right away. I mean, they're talking about at least, last I remember, looking at all three bridges combined, maybe $3 billion or more, because it's a big issue over there. And of course, here in New York, we have our own infrastructure issues, especially with the we have a movable drawbridge over the Bronx River as well. I can't remember the name of it again, but even that too is over 100 years old. I mean, it's just decrepit, and it's laughable too, especially when they're saying, "Oh, we're going to do high-speed rail and so forth." But it's not good.
And now, to be fair, I mean, when I'm looking at the National Association of Railroad Passengers and the report and the press release there, they were saying that the $2.5 billion that they're spending on this project is going to go, that some of it is already a down payment onto the infrastructure upgrades, but they never really specified, well, where the infrastructure upgrades are going. So it's kind of a bit strange where this money is going to also as well.
Yeah, it's definitely strange. I'm like wondering how the heck are they going to do this? I mean, we're talking about a corridor that Amtrak has specifically said even a few years ago, just even trying to upgrade the whole system would cost over $150 billion. That's not cheap talk right there. So I don't know what they're saying with this whole plan. I think it's just a bit of smoke cover, you could say, to try and get them out of the way of even more public harm. But we'll see what happens,
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping for the best. That's all we can do right now with Amtrak. And I mean, everyone has seen my Amtrak Rant video. I mean, at this time, I mean, we're hoping for the best, but as always, we're not surprised when something goes wrong or something doesn't really happen with Amtrak. I mean, the video does look great, and it's Alstom that's doing the train sets, which is the same people who do the train sets over in France. So I mean, it does look nice. The expandable train sets, and they're saying it's something that goes from it's capable of going 220 miles an hour.
220, yep.
Yeah, but I don't see where it's going to go 220 anywhere.
No way. They will, because the problem is, of course, you have to realize with the Federal Railroad Administration, unfortunately, even for them, they're still a bit restrictive on going faster than 160. I mean, they got the approval to do it between New Brunswick, New Jersey, and Trenton, because they just re-renovated that not even a few years ago. And they technically are capable of reaching 175 because they upgraded that part of the line very well. But there's only 3 places I could see them doing maybe 150, 160. And that, of course, is the segment that I just told you between New Brunswick and Trenton. Then you got the section in Mansfield, Massachusetts, and lastly in Rhode Island. But anywhere else, though, I'm not too very comfortable seeing them go faster than 150, 160 miles an hour at all. I would see them basically doing what Excel has been doing now.
And there was one interesting thing that also did catch my eye during the video also too, when pretty much at the very end when the train pulls into Penn Station. It's not the same Penn Station that we're used to nowadays, that rat hole of a Penn Station. This is the new Penn Station they were talking about over in the renovation reports. Yeah, and it looks to be, from what I'm looking at the video, I think it's the 34th Street exit, because that's where the Empire State Building is right there. So, I mean, that was pretty interesting. So is that something that we're looking forward to in whenever this is coming out in 2021?
I have no idea, honestly. I mean, there has been a few articles lately, of course, where people have looked at what Governor Cuomo's calling for. But then again, you have to realize we did sign the city, I would say more like a city council, gave Madison Square Garden, which is right above Penn Station. They took over the old site in 1968. They gave them a 10-year lease. And the city council said, you either get out of here in 10 years and build a new garden, or we're going to come in there and tear it down. And some people have actually said, okay, if that's the deal, why can't we just rebuild the old Penn Station? Bring back McKim's architectural grandeur that was utterly destroyed, unfortunately. I think that would be civic redemption instead of looking at what the state has proposed, which I think is an embarrassment. I mean, we're supposed to be the big apple, big things that are supposed to happen in the city. Instead, when I look at a project like that, it's like, no, we can't do anything big anymore. It's just an embarrassment, if you ask me.
It's sad. It's as the quote used to say, you used to go into Penn Station going like a god. Now you come into Penn Station like a rat. It's a travesty
correct.
What it's turned into. I mean,
It's bad.
It's pretty sad. And anybody who's been to the Penn Station nowadays, or anybody who was lucky enough to see how Penn Station used to be before, I mean, it's complete night and day. I mean, literally, there was a skylights coming in and everything. So that's what they're trying to bring into this new reiteration of the new and improved Penn Station with the plans that Cuomo put through.
Yeah, ironically enough, right before I graduated college last year, I had a World War II veteran in our class. I'm not kidding. Guy was well over in mid to late 80s.
Wow.
And he saw me one day take out a train book that I had on me. And he said, "Did you ever hear of Pennsylvania stations?" I said, "Oh my gosh, you've been to Penn Station before it was torn down?" And he said, "Yeah, that's how I used to take the Pennsylvania Railroad Broadway Limited to Chicago. And then I would get the Super Chief from Chicago all the way to his military base out in the mountains in Colorado." And the last thing he said to me, of course, when we were talking about the discussion, he said, "I don't understand why anybody was allowed to destroy that station. There was nothing wrong with it, you know. It was a beautiful place." And unfortunately, of course, these days, when, for example, they first released the news about the 10-year lease agreement, basically if MSG doesn't get out, you know, they get kicked out. There was a bit of a divide in the whole sector of the city, especially even for me between my parents, because that's where they met, was ironically enough in Madison Square Garden. But when they hear their own son actually advocating to destroy the very place that they met to bring back the station, it's like reopening old wounds that haven't really healed, you could say, from 1968. It's a bit of an irony, but I don't think it's going to get any calmer soon.
Pretty ironic. You met at Penn Station, but someone's destroyed it.
Yeah.
All right. So now going into that, because this news is also related into also Amtrak's new CEO and chief of operations, or just chief executive, Mr. Wick Moorman, who actually used to be, he just retired now from Norfolk Southern. And I'm looking at his history here. He was a civil engineering major at Georgia Tech, and he was a business major at Harvard, and he was working at a Southern Railway also too, and then moved to Norfolk Southern. And then from there, he took the company and pretty much modernized it, and was, won so many safety awards for Norfolk Southern, and pretty much brought it, out of the brink of going down into, now one of the best tier one freight railroad companies in America.
Oh, definitely. What Moorman has done when he took over that company is just absolutely astonishing. I mean, you take a look at the projects like the Crescent Corridor upgrade and the upgrade corridor. I think I can't remember what it was again, the second one, but both of these projects though that he did, whether it be the Crescent Corridor and the other project I forgot about, they were very innovative because the first project, the one I forgot about, unfortunately, they had a lot of tunnel restrictions. The ceilings from the tunnel between for clearance of freight cars was low. They wanted to do double stack intermodals. And unfortunately, because of the tunnels, being so low, they said, okay, that's it. We
Right.
got to tear the roofs out and start expanding them. And that
Let
cost
me see.
quite a bit.
I'm looking over here. It was it the Heartland corridor?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yep, and
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
what they did. They upgrade all the tunnels, and I believe for all of them in general, I think it was like 4 miles worth of tunnel because they have like more than 20 of them. So think about that: 20 tunnels. That probably short, but 4.5 miles worth of all of them. It's just incredible. I mean, the engineering feats of doing that and the capital costs and working together with the states as well to get something done was absolutely extraordinary. Same thing even with the Crescent Corridor. They've improved and expanded their capacity for markets in the South, particularly in Georgia, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, anywhere that Norfolk Southern runs. They upgrade that corridor, and they're basically paying off big time because of it. But
Huh.
what Moorman's done is, of course, he clearly has a passion though for railroading. I got to see his example of being a good public relations person with the 21st Century Steam program, which what they did was for their 30th anniversary, I believe it was, they took out these old steam locomotives, they put them on the front of passenger trains that they were running with their own equipment, and they let the employees ride on board first, and then they let the public in 2013 take over the excursions to basically show the public what Norfolk Southern is doing to help improve not just their economy, but to improve their way of life, and to show that, hey, we care about you guys just as much you would probably care about us. And that's why I like him. He's really pulled together this company, which was indeed on the downgrade, and sent it skyrocketing through the roof and made it a very, very efficient and very effective freight rail company that it is today, ironically enough.
Yeah, it's a complete difference between Joseph Boardman, someone who I've been pretty critical of in the High Speed Rail America Club. We're going from someone who used to be, all the way in the government, from FRA administrator and all the way in the transportation department, to now somebody who was in the private sector, who actually worked on the railroads, who actually got all this investment into upgrading and in renovating and modernizing the freight railroads, and now we're putting all that experience into Amtrak, which is definitely something as a transitional leader is really needed for Amtrak right now, and that sort of changed the perspective of what I have towards Amtrak, and it's hopefully something that's going to be good for the company as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. And what really matters, I think, what will really affect what happens with Amtrak, let's say with Moorman, the CEO, what's going to matter the most is what happens with, of course, with the upcoming election, because we know Amtrak is under, the gun of the federal government, as we would
Right.
say. So let's just say if we get a pro-rail passenger-friendly Congress into the House and into the Senate, that would be a big, big boost. And knowing especially how Moorman is, that he's gone aggressive with these capital projects, I have no doubt without any chance whatsoever that he will definitely push Congress tooth and nail to get all the funding necessary that he needs.
Right.
And especially with what Amtrak's going through now with the Hudson River Tunnel project, that they're talking about $20 billion just to build new tunnels, and the issue of trying to get $1 billion for Portal Bridge replacement, and just in general, all the projects on the Northeast Corridor, or even regarding the whole entirety of Amtrak, to have someone like Moorman in there is a huge, huge different set of circumstances, and it should hopefully change the situation so long as we get a pro-friendly rail Congress into power.
Yeah, it's got to go there everywhere, and also it's also with the people also too as well. They got to start moving congressmen and making it look like it's hey, well, we the people, we do want more transportation advocacy, because again, it doesn't really matter, because the thing is Amtrak has been around for 45 years.
Oh,
Even though they're still celebrating 40 years here and there. Yeah, it's 45 years. We've had Congress going from left to right, from Democrat to Republican, and it hasn't really mattered, if they're one side or the other. They really haven't gotten the funding or anything like that. It's because, whoever's been running Amtrak at that point hasn't really been quite serious until maybe now that we have with Moorman at the helm of Amtrak to get this moving forward.
Well, definitely, that's the thing. I mean, because, there has been definitely a sort of bipartisanship within Congress here and there, but it hasn't been that really strong, unfortunately. But could this election change that? Hopefully. I mean, that would be great. But we'll wait and see after November 8th or November 9th. Yeah. And the other thing, of course, knowing, like I said, with Moorman, he's a very friendly guy, but he will push, without any doubt, to get stuff done. He will say enough is enough.
That's what business people are. They'll push and push to get the deals and get them done, get them through there. All right. So, anything else, Marco? By any chance you want to introduce yourself also too, and what you do as well at Staten Island over there? Because you've been doing some really good work over there, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, Staten Island, where I'm from. My name's Mark Carey. I'm the head admin of the Staten Island Railway Passenger Advocacy. I've been trying to advocate for now the last 2 to 3 years, trying to get the MTA to take seriously the issue of the Staten Island Railway. Our railway, unfortunately, we are not connected to the other 5 boroughs. We're not even connected to Brooklyn or even Manhattan. And that's saddening, while the other 4 boroughs, they're connected to the other, they're just interconnected with each other. And while ours, we don't have any sort of that. And the other problem is, of course, we don't get the real amount of capital expenditure that should be done, and especially the real amount of extensions that should be done. It's ironic because in 1980, we had as much as at least over 300,000 people. Fast forward more than 30 years, 40 years later, of course, to now at least, and we've got a population that is approaching well over 500,000 people. That's as much as many people in downtown Atlanta, Georgia. That's not absolutely amazing. It's not good at all. And especially since we got all these economic development projects coming here, it's just making it utterly more of a necessity to say, hey, we really need to stop playing cheap games here. We really need to start looking at the future of the Staten Island Railway to help meet the demands of all of us. I'm not just talking about Staten Islanders, I'll talk about everybody.
Yeah,
and that's
all the other boroughs also too.
Yep, that's it. And that's all.
All right, so thank you for coming on to here, Mark, and hopefully we'll have you on also too, as well as a more regular correspondent here with the High Speed Rail America Club. And you're also going to be, from what I'm hearing, you're going to be featured in the new documentary also as well, right?
Yes, definitely. And that should be pretty interesting from what I've been hearing, especially since supposedly they're talking about wanting to bring up New York City and the transit mess, which I'll go into a depth of that much later in the documentary.
All right.
That'll be better.
And yes, if anybody wants to also support the documentary, we have the link below, and you can click right here on the video to go and visit us on the Kickstarter page. Again, if you have any questions for us or for Mark, leave them here in the comments below. And again, you can also connect directly with us on our Facebook page, on our Facebook group, at High Speed Rail America Club. You can see it right there. We got the link, and you can connect with all of us really quick and simple right there also too, and join the rest of the community. We're now over 1,100 people strong, and we're growing every single day. This revolution is moving forward, and it's pretty fun, to see. Mark, you've been with us for quite a long time also too, for like over
like at least over a year, I believe now too. I mean, I'm just surprised at how fast All Aboard Florida is coming along. I've been watching, like with the rest of the group, we were not even at one point over 100 members, I believe, or so. And now to hit over 1,000 members and got a worldwide community actually joining us from other countries. It's just like mind-boggling. Like, oh my goodness, is this really
1,000 subscribers also too on YouTube. So we're celebrating that with this video also too.
It's just great, and I really hope this rail evolution keeps going. Let's keep getting this train out of the station faster and better.
Yeah, I noticed that revolution thing that they put on Amtrak. I'm like, they're taking some cues from us, aren't they?
Oh, gosh, I wouldn't be surprised if they are. But
All
hey,
right, and
we really get them if we wanted to.
and speaking of subscribe, if you're also check out and subscribe to us here on YouTube, we just passed 1,000 subscribers, so be sure to subscribe so you can keep getting updates on stuff like Brightline, on California High-Speed Rail Authority, Texas Central Railway, and other awesome projects around the country also too as well. We'll see you guys next time.